Our story begins in Westmoreland County, Virginia, where on February 22nd, 1732, George Washington was born. The first son of Augustine Washington and his second wife, Mary Ball Washington, George was born into a world of tobacco farming and colonial rule. Raised alongside his 5 siblings, his early years were spent in the rustic simplicity of Virginia's countryside. His father's sudden demise when George was just 11 years old thrust him into a life of responsibility. His education, previously nurtured by his father, was now left to his half-brother Lawrence and the School of Hard Knocks. He learned the intricacies of tobacco farming, land surveying, and developed a deep understanding of the wilderness. These formative years were not filled with the luxury of aristocracy, but they were rich in lessons of perseverance, integrity, and leadership. Little did anyone know this young lad would grow up to be a cornerstone in the creation of a nation. Fast forward to 1754, a pivotal year in Washington's life where he found himself in the midst of the French and Indian War. This was a war fought on North American soil between the British colonies and New France, with both sides supported by military units from their parent countries and by Native American allies. At the tender age of 22, Washington was appointed as a lieutenant colonel in the Virginia militia, entrusted with the task of challenging French expansion in the Ohio River Valley. He was young, enthusiastic, and ambitious. It was here that he began to display his leadership skills, commanding a small force against the French and Indian alliance. In May of that year, Washington led his men to a surprise attack against a small French detachment in what came to be known as the Battle of Jumonville Glen. This marked the beginning of open hostilities between the French and the British, and it was a moment of triumph for the young colonel. However, triumph quickly turned to tribulation. Just a couple of months later, Washington and his men found themselves surrounded at Fort Necessity, greatly outnumbered by the French and their Native American allies. Despite the odds, Washington displayed remarkable courage and strategic acumen. He managed to negotiate a peaceful surrender, ensuring the safety of his men. This event, known as the Battle of Fort Necessity, was a significant moment in Washington's military career. It was a defeat, yes, but one that was met with dignity and tactical wisdom. It was a testament to his leadership that even in defeat, he could command respect and ensure the welfare of his men. The French and Indian War was a complex and challenging time in Washington's life. He witnessed the harsh realities of war, experienced both victory and defeat, and learned invaluable lessons about leadership, strategy, and diplomacy. He was tested, and he emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined. This war was an early indicator of Washington's leadership and strategic prowess, setting the stage for his future. So, as we delve deeper into the life of George Washington, keep in mind this young colonel who faced adversity with courage and emerged a seasoned leader, ready for the challenges that lay ahead. Now we approach the year 1775, a time of great turmoil and conflict and the beginning of the Revolutionary War. The colonies were yearning for freedom, and a man named George Washington emerged at the forefront of this struggle for independence. In June of 1775, the Continental Congress appointed Washington as Commander-in-Chief of the newly formed Continental Army, a role of immense responsibility, but Washington, with his previous military experience and undeniable leadership skills, was more than up to the task. He was not just a commander, but a beacon of hope for the troops and the people. His strategies were a blend of patience, perseverance, and brilliance. Washington knew he was not commanding a traditional army. His forces were mainly composed of militiamen, not professional soldiers. His strategy was to keep the army intact, even if it meant giving up territory. He focused on smaller but impactful victories, which boosted morale and kept the revolution alive. One of his most notable triumphs was the crossing of the Delaware River. On Christmas night, 1776, Washington led his troops across the icy river in a daring surprise attack against the Hessian forces at Trenton, New Jersey. Despite the harsh conditions, the Continental Army emerged victorious, a win that revitalized the American cause. But the defining moment of the Revolutionary War came in 1781 at the Battle of Yorktown. With the support of French allies, Washington led a successful siege against the British forces. The British commander, Lord Cornwallis, was forced to surrender, marking a significant turning point in the war. This victory shattered the morale of the British, leading to negotiations that ended the war 2 years later. With the end of the Revolutionary War, Washington proved himself not just as a military leader, but as a beacon of hope for a new nation. His courage, resilience, and strategic brilliance had helped shape a revolution, and his legacy was just beginning to unfold. By 1789, the United States of America was a newly formed nation, and it needed a leader. Who better than George Washington? George Washington, a man of great integrity and fortitude, was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. He was the man who had led the revolutionary forces to victory, and now he was tasked with leading a newborn nation. Washington's presidency was a time of immense change and challenge. He was not only the president, but also the architect of the federal government. His primary task was to translate the Constitution, a piece of paper with words and principles, into a living, functioning government. Washington was well aware of the monumental task at hand. He knew that every decision he made would set a precedent for future presidents. His choices were cautious, yet bold. He established the first cabinet, comprising the Secretaries of State, Treasury and War, and the Attorney General. This cabinet served as his advisory board and helped shape the policies of the nation. Washington's policies were forward-looking and pragmatic. His economic policy, crafted with Alexander Hamilton, focused on stabilizing the nation's finances. A central bank was established, a move that laid the foundation for America's economic growth. One of Washington's most significant decisions was his stand on neutrality. Despite pressure to join the war between Britain and France, Washington believed that the young nation wasn't equipped for international conflict. His stand on neutrality steered the nation towards peace, a significant step in establishing America's role on the international stage. Yet perhaps Washington's most enduring legacy was his decision not to seek a third term. He believed in the peaceful transition of power, a cornerstone of democracy. He rejected the idea of a lifetime presidency, setting a two-term precedent that lasted until the 20th century. Washington's presidency set precedents that continue to shape the office today. He may not have sought greatness, but greatness was thrust upon him, and he responded with wisdom, humility, and an unwavering commitment to his country. His presidency was not just about leading a nation, it was about building one. Following his presidency, Washington returned to his beloved Mount Vernon, where he would spend his final years. The tranquility of the countryside offered a stark contrast to the bustling political life he had led. Yet even in retirement, Washington's influence did not wane. His wisdom and guidance were still sought by those who navigated the early path of the nation he had helped create. In the bitter December of 1799, Washington took his final breath. His death marked the end of an era, but the legacy he left behind was timeless. It echoed in the foundations of a nation, in the principles it upheld, and in the hearts of its people. One of the most enduring parts of that legacy was his farewell address. It was not a speech delivered in front of a crowd, but a letter published in newspapers across the young nation. In it, Washington shared his vision for America. He urged his fellow citizens to value their union, to beware of the dangers of political parties, and to steer clear of permanent alliances with foreign nations. His words were a testament to his foresight, his understanding of human nature, and his unyielding devotion to the country he loved. Washington's farewell address continues to resonate today, a beacon guiding the ship of state through the tumultuous waters of modern times. It is a reminder of the principles upon which the United States was built, and a call to uphold these principles in the face of changing times and challenges. Perhaps the most poignant part of Washington's legacy is the man himself. He was not a man of perfection, but a man of principle. He was not a man devoid of faults, but a man who strove to overcome them. He was a man who understood the weight of his actions, the impact of his words, and the power of his example. George Washington, a man of many roles, a soldier, a leader, a president, and most importantly, a founding father of a nation. His life, his service, and his legacy continue to inspire, reminding us of the potential within each of us to shape the world around us. So that, in a nutshell, was the life and legacy of George Washington. From his birth to his remarkable military career, his presidency, and the legacy he left behind, Washington's influence on America continues to resonate today. His leadership, courage, and dedication set a precedent for all future leaders of this great nation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more enlightening content.